All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again. Welcome to today's NASCAR live commentary stream. And this evening we have the Craftsman Truck Series race at Pocono Raceway for the running of this weekend's MillerTech Battery 200. This will be an 80-lap race, the longest truck race ever at Pocono Raceway, 2.5-mile tricky triangle. And usually we would see 60-lap races here. Last year's race was extended to 70 laps, and this year extended another 10 to 80, making up our full distance for this evening's race. So there may be a bit of pit strategy going into that final stage, as it would be right about at the edge of the fuel window for these Truck Series drivers. We'll get that estimated range here in a bit, but as far as this one goes, probably a two-stop race versus a one-stopper. And quite surprised, honestly, that NASCAR elongated this race compared to years past. Last time we saw a big oval in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, it was at Michigan International Raceway just 2 weeks ago in what was the last points-paying race for the Truck Series. In that one, Stuart Friesen pulled off the win in a triple overtime affair. He hasn't led many laps this season. He was below the cutoff line on points going into that race, but he was able to get the win and lock himself into the Truck Series playoffs. He is now one of 7 different truck regulars to get a win so far this season. 6, truck regulars to get a win so far this season. As we take a look at the points coming in, Corey Heim dominating the season for the regular season championship. It's not even a battle at that point anymore. 5 races to go in the regular season entering today. And Corey Heim has a 133-point lead. That is over 2 full races of points that he has ahead of Chandler Smith, who is second in the standings. Daniel Hemrick is third. Grant Enfinger is in fourth. Tyler Ankrum rounds out the top 5. As for Corey Heim, he does have the most wins, obviously, in the series with 4, most top 5s with 8, most top 10s are at least tied for the most with 10, and by far the most laps led, 841 laps led. Next closest is Chandler Smith, who has 188 laps led this season, over 650 more laps led on the year for Corey Heim than any other driver full-time in the Truck Series. 31 playoff points and obviously 15 more if you win the regular season championship, which he could lock up in the next few races. As far as the playoff battle itself goes, the drivers locked in would obviously be Corey Heim, who has 4 wins on the year, 2 wins for Chandler Smith, 1 win apiece for Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Ankrum, Stuart Friesen after last week, and Raja Caruth. 4 drivers are above the cutoff line on points coming into the day, and that would be Grant Enfinger, Lane Riggs, Caden Honeycutt, and Ty Majeski. Majeski's the last driver in on points, only by 4 points, though, ahead of his teammate Jake Garcia. Just behind them in points would be Ben Rhodes, Giovanni Ruggiero, Tanner Gray, and Matt Crafton. So that is the season update up to this point. We've had a couple of Cup regulars that have won some races this year. Carson Hocevar at Kansas, Kyle Larson at Homestead, and also a race win a little bit earlier in the season as well for another driver, which would have been Kyle Busch at Atlanta, who oddly enough by a nose beat Stuart Friesen that day. So despite Friesen not leading a lot of laps, he's almost won 2 races this season. Fans are on their feet as we'll get the pre-race ceremony started. Here is the pre-race invocation.
Our nation's colors. Here to offer today's invocation, please welcome NASCAR Xfinity Series driver for Junior Motorsports, Justin Allgaier.
If you would bow your head with me, please. Dear Lord, we come to you today and we just say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come to this beautiful racetrack and compete as competitors. And we just ask for your hand of protection over all of these drivers as they go out and battle and try to win the race. And we just ask that they race in your honor. Dear Lord, we just ask that you watch over all the crews, the workers, the fans that are here in attendance to keep them safe. Dear Lord, we just ask that you watch over our country. We know that there's a lot of unrest and unknown, but we just ask that you be with our leaders and our military and all the men and women that fight for this country to keep us safe and to keep it free so we can come here and do these things that we love to do. Dear Lord, we just honor you, glorify you, and we do all of this in your name. We love you and praise you. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome singer and songwriter from Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Kendall Conrad.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's who's brought stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallant. Streaming heads above bursting get through the night, that our flag is still there. Won't say does that star-spangled banner o'er the land and the
Let's give it up for Kendall's performance of our national anthem, and a special thank you to Annabella Roleri from the Scranton School for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Children, who signed today's
The
national.
honeymoon capital, Pocono, Pennsylvania, roars to life for the NASCAR triple header weekend. We'll kick things off with the trucks after this.
Listening to the PA announcer at the racetrack, and I wasn't expecting to hear Jamie Little's voice screaming in there at the last second. It kind of scared me. All right, we'll go through the starting lineup for today's MillerTech Battery 200 at Pocono Raceway. Starting things off with our pole sitter, Lane Riggs, who's still in search for his first win of the season. Had a great run at Michigan a couple weeks ago. We'll see if he can have another strong performance today. Obviously, starting up front is the good going to begin with. We'll see if he can finish up front. Caden Honeycutt also on the front row alongside Riggs should be quick today. And row 2 will be Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar, who in my opinion are the two favorites for the race win. I did take Corey Heim for the race win for today. He was a little bit quicker in practice than Carson Hocevar. And if we look back at Michigan, which was a similarly structured racetrack, long straightaways, big oval, a lot of drafting is going to be had on the straightaways, some bump drafting to get by cars. Heim had the best car, in my opinion, at Michigan. Even though Carson Hocevar led laps at times, Heim did win the first two stages and put himself in position to win. Obviously, all the overtime restarts and the crashes we saw late took him out of it, but same for Carson Hocevar for that matter. I did take Hocevar going into the Michigan race, but I think based off of what I saw a couple weeks ago in that race, I'm taking Corey Heim. Plus, again, practice, he was a little bit quicker. Starts in the same row, though. In row number 3 will be the other two Tricon Garage trucks, Tanner Gray and Gio Ruggiero. Andres Perez with Raja Karut for Spire Motorsports make up row 4. And row 5 will be Brandon Jones and Patrick Emerly in the 07 for Spire today. Jake Garcia with Connor Mosack in row 6. Mentioned already, Garcia only 4 points below his teammate of Ty Majeski for that last playoff spot coming into the day. Stuart Friesen, our defending race winner at Michigan a couple weeks ago, and Grant Enfinger will be on the outside of row 7. Behind them in row 8, Chandler Smith and Ty Majeski. In row number 9 will be Luke Baldwin and Tyler Ankrum. Daniel Hemrick, Matt Crafton in row 10. Deeper in the field in row 11, Matt Mills with Connor Jones. Nathan Berg, Jack Wood make up row 12. Row 11 for Cody Dennison and Spencer Boyd. Frankie Muniz, Tyler Tomasi in row 14. Row 15, Tony Breidinger with Dawson Cram. In row 16, Norm Benning, Brian Dozit. And rounding out the field in the final two rows, Clayton Green, Ben Rhodes in row 17. Row 18, Dawson Sutton. 35 trucks will be starting today's race. Again, 80 laps are scheduled distance. Stages 1 and 2, each 20 laps. Stage 3, 40 laps, which will be right on the edge of the fuel window. So we could see a fuel mileage race here today at Pocono. Very much going to see some pit strategy in this race. And Corey Heim, the defending race winner, led all but 15 of 70 laps last season. He won both stages, won the race. Another reason why I think he is the one to beat yet again here today. He has 4 race wins on the season. Looking for number 5 in what is only the 14th race of the year. 3 separate corners here at the Pocono Raceway. 14 degrees of banking in turn 1, 8 in turn 2, 6 in turn 3. They don't call it the tricky triangle for nothing. No other track on the schedule quite like it. We've seen some good truck races here over the past. 2 years ago, Corey Heim and Kyle Busch battled. Great race between those two all race long. Came down to the final lap. Even on a long green flag run, Kyle Busch made a pass for the win in the tunnel turn in turn 2. Last year, Corey Heim again dominated that race, so looking to go for 3 straight top 2s at this racetrack. Mark Witkowski, Ethan Chua, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everybody that was watching the NASCAR 08 stream that we had on before the start of this stream here today. We had a pretty good turnout for that, and hopefully many of you that watched that stream are back again here for this live commentary stream today. First of 4 live commentary streams on the weekend. I do have the schedule up in the community tab. I posted that last night after the gaming stream. We'll have a doubleheader tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern for the NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying session. Xfinity race will be soon after that at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then Sunday for the Cup race will go live early at 1:30 p.m. Eastern before the drop of the green flag, which will be shortly after 2. Many of you may be just getting off work for the day or for the weekend as well. Earlier race for the Truck Series, but no lights at Pocono, and the congested schedule that we have for tomorrow, it's the lone race of the day. Lone trip to Pocono Raceway as well on the NASCAR schedule. Should be given the command to fire engines here any second.
You got to make that last decision. You're going to use the spotter as a guy to give you some direction. You got to make the decision.
We have one driver, Gio Ruggiero, has a brand new spotter on the roof today, so a lot for them to figure out in a hurry today with Freddie Kraft. Well, it's time now to go trackside for the command to fire engines.
And now, here to say the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome MillerTech owner Lester Miller, along with the MillerTech team. Driver, start your engines!
Engines are fired. 35 truckers are ready to take on the tricky triangle. We'll drop the green flag next.
Alrighty. STL Mark Jojo, thanks for tuning in also. Was there about 15 years ago, reminds you of Ontario Motor Speedway in California as a kid. Beauty in PA, whole lot better though. Yeah, I did like obviously the scenery around the racetrack. If you're big on like hiking or the mountains, obviously you go out to Pocono, it's nothing but mountains in that area of Pennsylvania. The track is really out in the middle of nowhere. Driving along the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and then all of a sudden you just come up on an exit that says Pocono Raceway. A couple miles off the exit, there's your track. And you wouldn't know it from the highway either because of how hidden the track is with a bunch of surrounding trees and mountains. So you drive up on it, and then there's a big open area with a 2.5 mile triangular shaped racetrack, and you're like, oh, there it is. Only time I was there in 2021 when they had the doubleheader weekend. That drew me into going to Pocono for the first time. I haven't been there since, but got to see 2 Cup races there that weekend. That was the race that Alex Bowman won because Kyle Larson blew a tire on the final turn of the final lap. I still couldn't believe that. It took me a good couple hours after the race was over to process what I just saw happen. I mean, you're just watching along. Larson takes the lead about 7-8 laps ago. Oh, yeah, you know, he's cruising, he's pulling away, and then all of a sudden his tire blows out. It was kind of hard to see the smoke from where I was at from his tire going down, from what I remember, but you can see that he was like slow going into the corner compared to everybody else, and then all of a sudden he was up in the wall. I'm like, what's going on? And then Bowman comes around and wins the race. It's crazy. Middle of nowhere. Oh, yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely majestic from a scenery standpoint out there. This was one of the quicker races on the schedule when it was 60 laps, but now with it being 80, not going to be one of the shortest races. Pretty even with a lot of other race lengths at about 200 miles. Tomorrow's Xfinity Series race, though, will be shortened. That's just going to be a little bit longer than this race here today, 100 laps for the Xfinity side. Bam Hall, welcome back into the stream. All right, well, we're getting close. Engines have already fired. We've gone through the starting lineup for today's Truck Series race at Pocono Raceway, and not going to be too far out from getting this race under green. Highlighting Stuart Friesen on the broadcast right now. Of course, winner at Michigan a couple weeks ago. Upset winner in that race, and I believe they are queuing him up for an interview.
And meant everything. What do you think, Kevin? Let's dial him.
Let's dial him up. Hey, Stuart, Kevin, and the Fox booth, man. You had that thing in victory lane last week. A lot of chaos at the end of that race, but still, the feeling that it has to be to get that monkey off of your back and get that truck into victory lane has to feel good.
Yeah, for sure. Just for this whole Almar team here. Thanks to all our guys. Everybody's just been working so hard to bring fast trucks. And, well, good to really have an opportunity to get one there last week ago now. So, but that's behind us. It's all windshield now.
Well, good luck today. Hopefully you can park it in the same spot, man.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks so much to all our great Northeast Mountain racing fans. And take a couple weeks. So,
That's Stuart Friesen starting 13th. And the guy on pole for the first time in his career is Lane Riggs. Michael, let's dial him up now.
You got it, Jane. Lane, it's Waltrip and the Fox team. Do you copy?
Yes, sir. Got you guys loud clear.
Well, it was an awesome qualifying effort. You've been so close to victory lane. What do you think about sweeping Pocono here? How are you feeling about the truck in the long haul?
So great. We had a great practice run. Obviously, in qualifying. Last year, being wrecked on lap 2 in practice, it's really not even getting to race. It's riding around in the back. I was just getting my first hole. Since last place, I thought I'd get it, but I feel really good about it. I feel good. We had a good piece of practice with our safeties that we had it. In Nashville, it was so good. And speaking of Nashville, the bare knuckle boxing fight is tonight in Nashville on TV. So make sure everybody tune in after the race.
Nice plug.
All right, bud, have fun. Who are you going to fight?
I hope nobody today. Hopefully, the neighbor and son and the checkered flag. That's about all I want to fight today.
Well said.
That was a good question there by Michael Waltrip. I feel like sometimes he tries too hard to be funny, but that was actually a pretty funny joke. And promoting the bare knuckle boxing sponsorship that he's got on the truck today and asking him who he's going to fight. 74-degree air temp at Pocono Raceway for today. So relatively cool, all things considered here for mid to late June. Alrighty. So waiting on Lane Riggs to lead us to the drop of the green flag for today's race. Well, STL Mark liking the Lane Riggs scheme for the week. In Nashville tomorrow night. Oh, well, there you go. Jeez, he didn't even have his details correct. Somebody in the PR department at Front Row Motorsports probably told him, hey, they're probably going to interview you because you're on the pole, so promote the bare knuckle boxing. And he just had the dates wrong. Shane Richards, thanks for tuning in. Yes, hopefully we do have a safe race. Very fast racetrack, and we've seen some gnarly accidents at Pocono over the years with the high-rated speeds, the sharp-angled corners. Crash really in any one of these three turns, and it can lead into some bad things. Hopefully we don't see those bad things today. All right. They're checking pit road times currently, so that means they should get the 1 to go signal the following time by. With this being a 2.5 mile oval, we'll still be a couple minutes out. I noticed that it looked like there were some drops, raindrops, like sprinkles on the some of the cameras when they were doing the national anthem in the pit road area. But obviously it's not raining because cars are on the racetrack. Might have just been spinning for a little bit. You'll get that sometimes in the mountains. I think it did that when I was at Pocono a couple of years ago. Well, 4 years ago now, but I thought I remembered it kind of slightly sprinkling off and on at random times when I was in the grandstands. Very strange. Then it would just kind of dissipate. But weather forecast wise, we should be clear for the day. Lights are out on the pace truck, so I guess they will be going green this time, even though they checked pit road times. So big enough racetrack for everybody to get lined up pretty quick. Lane Riggs has elected the outside lane for this initial start. And Caden Honeycutt again on row 1 will be on the inside then when we go green. Probably going to see a lot of drafting. Well, not probably. We will see a lot of drafting here with these very long straightaways at Pocono. Pit road speed is 55 miles per hour. Fuel window 31 to 34 laps. And again, with stage 3 being 40 laps in length, it's going to be pretty tight to make it to the end if we do go green all the way through the final stage. Yeah, I didn't know about the bare knuckle boxing. A lot about it. I knew of it. But, yeah, it's a very small ring, by the way, too. I mean, it's like a couple people, like, big. It's very, very small. Knockout rates are very high. You can't really run anywhere. And it's bare knuckle. It's definitely a dangerous game. I mean, boxing in general is a dangerous game, but it's even more dangerous. Pretty good crowd on hand on a Friday early afternoon for the Craftsman Truck Series. Here in the Pocono Mountains, Lane Riggs launches. Great launch on the restart or initial start. Green flag is in the air. We're underway. 80 laps of racing at the Tricky Triangle will begin. No bump draft needed for Lane Riggs to pull clear down into the first turn. He didn't jump the restart, but he did fire off pretty well. And I wonder if he might have missed a shift on the back half of that front straightaway because all of a sudden, heading into turn 1, Caden Honeycutt was able to pull back alongside of him, and Honeycutt's clear off of turn 1 for the lead. Riggs falls back to third. Hocevar's pushing the 34. Heim goes to the inside for the lead, and Riggs down to the bottom 3 wide will try to get by both of them. The run for Riggs was bigger than what Corey Heim had on our race leader, but Heim's clear for the lead off turn 2. Riggs is still side by side for second with Honeycutt. Now he's losing momentum with no drafting help down that next straightaway, headed into turn 3. He's able to hold on to third in front of Carson Hocevar. Tanner Gray's pulling up on the front 4 in front of him. And Corey Heim will lead the first lap of the race despite starting in row number 2. Trying to break the draft in an accordion effect down this long front straightaway at Pocono. As they roll back through turns 1 and 2 again. Looking to extend this lead early. It was Hocevar and Heim who were able to use the draft and break away from the rest of the pack in both of the first two stages in last week's, or 2 weeks ago's race at Michigan, last race for the Truck Series. Hocevar being pinned back in 4th place. We'll see if maybe Honeycutt and Heim can work together to pull away from the pack. Although Honeycutt might not be quite as quick enough to stay with Corey Heim. A draft down the straightaways can keep you close together to a certain extent, but as the tires start to fall off and you have more off-throttle time in the corners, that's where that gap is going to start to get elongated over the course of a longer green flag run. Again, only 20 laps in this first stage, so very, very quick. Two laps complete, about a 4/10 of a second lead at the line for Heim over Honeycutt. Top 5 positions in the early laps have Corey Heim in the lead, Caden Honeycutt in 2nd, Lane Riggs 3rd, Carson Hocevar in 4th, and Tanner Gray in 5th. Battle on for 2nd between Riggs and Honeycutt. Lane to the inside, entering turn 2. And he will slide up and complete the pass. Honeycutt now going to look for a crossover down the next straightaway, headed for 3. As they side draft each other, Carson Hocevar with a huge run will jump to the bottom 3 wide and get by both of them. Great move by the Cup Series regular Carson Hocevar. But Lane Riggs is able to beat him back to the gas off the exit of turn 3 and still hold on for the 2nd spot. Looked like Hocevar was going to clear both race trucks. He did slide in line in 3rd, clearing the 45, but not the 34. 4 trucks under a blanket for 2nd, while our race leader, Corey Heim, loves to hear what he's hearing from the spotter, or maybe nothing at all, and just seeing everybody get smaller out of the rearview mirror because he's out ahead by about 2 seconds now. And we'll see if Riggs and Hocevar can maybe work together. I would assume that they're going to have some faster trucks of those in the top 5. And I think the top 3 right now are definitely the 3 favorites for the race win. They're the 3 that are in the chat poll for who you can vote to win today's race. And we will close that at the end of stage 2. We'll track lap times between Heim and Riggs. First lap of being in 2nd place, Heim was still quicker than Riggs. 54.784 for Corey, and Lane with a 54.87, about a 10th of a second off of our leader's time. Stuart Friesen making a pass on Patrick Emmerling in the 07, and Patrick with a huge slide on the outside lane in turn 1. Not a lot of rubber up there yet. Only vehicles on track so far this weekend have been the trucks, who had practice and qualifying obviously earlier today. Xfinity and Cup cars will not be on the racetrack until tomorrow. They will have both their practice and qualifying sessions, and then obviously the Xfinity race. Not a green racetrack, but a primarily one-group track at Pocono. And even more so today specifically, with no rubber laid down in those wider lanes yet. And we will see if maybe a 2nd lane could be had by any of these drivers as this race progresses and drivers try to move that line wider. Even if they don't get a full lane wider, they might go about a half a lane wider by the end of this thing. Now that last lap, Lane Riggs was quicker by about a 10th of a second over Corey Heim. And he's pulling away from Carson Hocevar, so it's not really a drafting or tango style of bump draft down these long straightaways that is allowing both of them to catch Corey Heim. Lane Riggs just outright pulling away from everybody behind him and slowly reeling in our leader. What could he maybe be using his tires up a little early in the run also? Ty Majeski, a bit of damage on the left front fender of his race truck from the opening laps. The Goodyear lettering rubbed off of that left front tire as well. I would imagine his tire's not going down, but aerodynamically at a track like Pocono, that's definitely got to be a deficiency. His teammates trying to pick him up in the draft down this long front straightaway, and that would be Ben Rhodes in the 99. Rhodes will pull out of line, side draft Majeski, and then pull out and make the pass on him. Ty Majeski is the last driver above the cutoff line on points for the truck playoffs coming into the day. He's the defending series champion, but sits 10th on the playoff grid. As Thor Sport Racing has not broken into victory lane yet this season across all of their race teams. And not a good start this weekend, considering that we're only 7 laps in, and the highest running ThorSport truck is Jake Garcia in 10th, who is the driver trying to chase Ty Majeski for that last playoff spot. Couple of good tracks coming up, though, for Majeski on the schedule in the summer months, Milwaukee and IRP. Or I guess now Lucas Oil Raceway over in Indianapolis Raceway Park, formerly known as IRP. Battle for fourth still ongoing between Caden Honeycutt and Tanner Gray, currently on the FS1 screen. Field starting to lengthen itself out now. Riggs had 2 consecutive laps where he was quicker than Corey Heim, and Heim again puts up a lap about a 10th quicker than Lane Riggs. He's 2 seconds ahead. And again, he is the driver to beat today as well. Tim Brown, Earl Arnold Jr., welcome to the stream. Check that chat poll out here in the early laps, see what you guys are voting for. 33 votes, Corey Heim, 39%, leading the poll. Now 34 votes, and he's up to 41%. So another vote for Corey Heim. Lane Riggs has 24% of the votes, 21% for somebody other than Heim, Hocevar, or Riggs. And then Lane Riggs, other at 21%, and then Carson Hocevar, 15% of the votes. If I had to order the top 3, I would have put Heim first, Hocevar second. Hocevar definitely quick enough to pull away from the drivers behind him. He's 3 seconds off the lead, but he's 2 seconds ahead of Honeycutt in 4th. Still about a second off of Riggs. Wonder if the long run pacing may be a little bit better for the 7, that he could catch the 34. Both young drivers, relatively speaking, but Hocevar a little bit more experience in the truck series than Riggs. An extra year's worth. Hocevar had his 2 full-time seasons in trucks a couple years ago, and now in Cup and part-time in trucks, obviously, the last couple of seasons as well. Can run up to 7 races, considering he's in his first 3 seasons of full-time Cup competition. After his 3rd full-time Cup competition, that's when he's limited to 5 races a season. And he cannot run any playoff races either. Seen Hocevar in a few races already this year. He actually battled Lane Riggs for a win at Kansas. Hocevar was able to hold him off. I believe Riggs ended up failing post-race inspection anyway that day, but we'll just act like he didn't, because that was one heck of a finish. Truck Series has been putting on some good races so far this season. The finish got out of hand at Michigan a couple weeks ago, but up until that point, I thought it was the best NASCAR race of the season across all 3 series. That ranged from about 28 laps to go down to about like 5 laps to go when the last caution came out. Was highly intense. You just had 6 trucks under a blanket. You didn't know which one of them was going to win. The way the drafting was at full effect. Audio is bugging. Try to see if that maybe helps a little bit. There's still audio issues. I can modify it a little bit more.
Legendary season of Road America, while the rest of the Cup battle for the checkered flag IndyCar Series is Sunday at 1:30 Eastern on Fox. I'll tell you one guy that stopped them 40 times this season. That's Kyle Kirkwood. He's on it. Auto awards pretty quick. Did you guys see Joseph Newgarden's last week? Ooh, up to St. Louis.
Wild. I saw it, and then I saw one of his competitors, Scott McLaughlin, out at the summer shootout there at Charlotte Motor Speedway, racing a legend car with SVG, and that was pretty entertaining. He didn't find it until he got spun out. That's pretty normal out there, though.
Pretty normal here in the truck series. Corey Himes driving away from the field. Things will change, though. You can see Lane Riggs is hanging right there. Only beat Corey by about a 0.5 of a second last lap. So there's good competitive trucks. And I'm telling you, we talked about the opening start. It's more calm than I thought it would be. As time goes forward, these guys are just going to push harder and harder.
Yeah, you see those. I'm sorry, Jamie. The first three trucks right there, all but ran the exact same lap time that time around the racetrack. So as long as Corey Heim isn't sitting out front just pacing himself, looks pretty competitive right now.
Corey Heim out there, second lead for Lane Riggs. What is the 88 Matt Crafton talking about?
Jamie, we've got some debris on the 15 truck, creating some overheating issues, but Matt Crafton got other things causing some overheating. Take a listen.
Dang.
Well,
Unaudible.
I think he's mad.
Yeah. I always tell everybody I help. Look, I've been in this position before, but that radio button is the worst thing that you could possibly have as a driver inside of that vehicle.
No doubt that Matt didn't like some slower truck in his way, but we'll just focus on moving forward.
He is not pleased. Let's just leave it at that.
Matt Crafton back in 22nd. Talk about the diversity in this series, and Matt Crafton, how many starts he has. This is his 581st start. We have 13 drivers that have never raced here at Pocono.
Well, I think when you talk about the young drivers and you talk about their preparation and time, Matt's obviously got the on-track time that goes with that experience. But you look at Corey Heim, he's been here for a few years, but these guys, they prepare in the simulator. The guys that are here for the first time, racing this truck race, are able to go to the simulator and make the laps. And I know it's not like reality, but they have no fear. And they go out on the racetrack and they don't know any difference. And they just go and do the exact same things that they do in the simulator, and they start to work on it. And it doesn't bother them to make their first laps on a racetrack or make their first restart on a racetrack. So a lot of tools outside of the experience on the track in today's world.
So different from the days with you guys where you were actually in the seat on a track testing all the time, and we just don't do that in the sport any longer. So Corey Heim has been our only leader today. He's led all 15 of them, and look at this, most laps led in the Craftsman Truck Series. Ron Hornaday on top, but you look down, Corey Heim just bumped our own Todd Bodine. He's now led 2,220 laps and counting in the series. How about that, Kevin? You're up there in ninth.
I didn't know I ever led that many laps in the truck series. So I did not. I did.
You led a lot, won a lot, like you've done your whole life. So, and it's really cool that
Took a long time.
your son's coming along. It's so fun to watch all that. Congratulations on his win.
It has been fun.
Hey, and Ron Hornaday, top of the board.
Yes.
He's led the most laps. Big day for him.
It is.
2.6 second lead for Corey Heim over Lane Riggs, coming up on 4 laps to go in stage 1 this time by 65 laps left in the race overall. Not really pulling away by a lot, and I wonder if Lane Riggs can have a better restart this go around, get his launch through the restart zone all the way into the first turn. Can he be competitive with Corey Heim if he's right there with him, instead of falling back a couple of spots on the opening lap like he did when he fell to third, and then had to put a pretty intense battle for second with Caden Honeycutt and Carson Hocevar, which allowed for Heim to get that 2-second lead. It's not really slipped away from Lane Riggs, or at least the 11 hasn't. Once he got into second, he settled himself in, started to click away consistent lap times, hit his marks, not having to really just battle anybody else on the racetrack, which forces him to maybe go a little bit off of his traditional racing line. Got quite a bit of time gained on this lap alone. I wonder if Corey Heim might be catching lap traffic from some of the back markers. Tony Breidinger, Spencer Boyd at the very tail end of the lead lap. They're a couple seconds ahead of Corey Heim right now, but pit stops. Carson Hocevar, Tanner Gray are in.
Carson Hocevar makes his way down pit road.
This isn't surprising at all. He doesn't need any stage points. He's just going to get in, get out, try to get some better track position. I like this call a lot. 4 tires, and you see.
And that's what we were talking about. They're going to flip the stage right here, put themselves in a position to finish this stage, have their new tires, don't have to pit.
And you can see they just get this tires only, no wrenches going into the back of the truck. Maybe an air pressure adjustment, but they're not going to hold up that stop for a chassis adjustment.
A lot of followers. Raja Caruth completes his work. Brandon Fingers in as well. And here comes the leader, Corey Heim, for his first stop of the day.
Had about a 3-second lead when he pitted. See how this all shakes out. Who decides to stay out and grab those stage points?
Yeah, you see Lane Riggs is still on the racetrack.
It's hot.
And then that's it. Valley crew chief decided to flip the stage because the truck is just so good. Corey wants just a little adjustment, a little bit too free. God's gonna take the minute to fix it. So a lot of good days with Corey Hine so far.
Lane Riggs, not having been to victory lane yet this year, decided he needed that stage point.
I think you're 100% right there. He needs a stage point. He needs the stage points in general.
The two, that would be Cody Dennison.
That's hard
On
contact.
the track, yes, debris on the track. That'll bring out our first caution of the day. The final lap of stage number 1.
It's a big hit.
And all the looks of a blown right front tire with that much damage, we'll have to find a replay and see exactly what did happen. There it goes.
Oof.
Lost a right front tire, whether he hit debris or had a fender rub or what. Big contact for Cody.
Good thing he was in the middle of turn 1 when it happened and
Puts a
not
couple
on
of these
entry.
trucks in a really, really different spot than they probably thought they were
Impact-wise.
going to be in, because that's going to put the 71 truck, the 45 truck, it's going to put some of these trucks a lap down.
Well, Riggs will pit.
Yeah,
I think the leaders will all pit. They'll have to take the weight around. See what happens here. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces with.
and the 71's definitely going to have to, he's going to be the lucky dog.
See, anytime a caution flag comes out right at the end of the stage or during green flag pit stops, you're going to have a lot of people that come out on the good end of things and some that come out on the bad.
So Cody Dennison makes it into his pit box. There's Lane Riggs there. He is the leader. And that is the end of stage 1. Riggs picks up the win there. Caden Honeycutt second. Connor Mozak, really nice opening stage for him. Andres Perez and Jake Garcia. Round out your top 5. We're under caution here. Stage 1 in the books. We'll mix it up and figure it all out. See who hits after this.
All right, stage 1 ending under caution. Lane Riggs will win the stage as he stayed out to get the points necessary to try to put himself in a better position to try to make the playoffs if he can't get a win in the regular season. So Riggs will get a playoff point if he does advance to the playoffs, which currently this is the 4th stage win already this year for Riggs, but again, no race wins. So 4th stage win of the year for Riggs. 2nd in stage 1 was Caden Honeycutt. Connor Mosak 3rd. Andres Perez in 4th. And Jake Garcia rounds out the top 5. Stuart Friesen in 6th. Brandon Jones 7th. Chandler Smith 8th. Tyler Ankrum 9th. Ben Rhodes will round out our top 10. And of those that already hit pit road, it looks like Corey Hyman 19 will be the leader. Everybody else should hit pit road. That ended up staying out to try to get stage points, or maybe was too far back in the running order that they would have went a lap down had they pitted. So that could have been some of the strategy as to staying out. Cody Dennison bringing out our only caution of the race so far, though. Right front tire failure in turn 1. Shrimp, welcome to the stream. Andrew, also thanks for tuning in. So again, a pretty much 2-stop race today. maybe 3 with the way the stages are. That final stage will be close. If we go green all the way through stage 3, it could be a fuel mileage race. Estimated window on the Fox graphic was 32 to 34 laps. And stage 3 is 40 laps. By the time we go green to start that stage, we'll probably have about 35, 36 to go, if I had to imagine. Yeah, Lane's had a lot of speed this season. He has struggled to make it to the finish line at some of the races that he has had speed. I know he's only got 1 DNF this season, but he's gotten into incidences, including Michigan a couple weeks ago when he had a tire flat after contact with the wall late. Another one of those races, he was in the top 5 and very much in contention for the win. He's 6th in points, but because of all the different drivers who have won, he's not one of them. He's 7th on the playoff grid. He does have over a full race worth of points ahead of Ben Rhodes. He's almost, looks like 86 if I do my math correctly. 86 points to the good entering today's race.
Here in Michigan, for decades, there has been a legendary sound, and that sound symbolized pure, raw, unapologetic American muscle. That's right, Hemi is back. Ram is back in NASCAR. So rev your Hemi engines and let freedom ring. Legends never die. Let's go.
Well, Michael, we talked about it and teased it. We knew something was coming from Ram, but after 13 years out of the sport, they are returning. They'll be right
Man,
here.
it's been that long already.
Starting next season. It's a pretty exciting announcement for that.
Yeah, a couple of championships, 66 wins. Blaney got their last win back in 12, and they are back.
And Michael, you had a chance to have that special guest on your podcast.
Yeah, we had CEO on our show this week from Ram, and he was able to. I mean, he answered all our hard questions. We even hit him up about having Tony Stewart come back as a team owner since he's got that Dodge top fuel car. But let's take a listen to what he had to say on the show.
What does it look like now when you go start looking for the teams? And are you looking for experienced drivers, young drivers? What is the perfect storm for you guys to come into the grid at Daytona and say, these are our guys, these are our teams?
Hey, we're back. We're committed to coming back. We are going to be in Daytona, and we're going to have at least 4 trucks in Daytona. How we're going to actually do that, who the team's going to be, everybody thinks that, I'm trying to play this side of it to see who raises their hand and says they want to work with us because they haven't announced that. That's absolutely not the case.
So Kaniska sounded pretty fired up in his announcement and in talking to you as well. So we welcome Ram back into the sport.
Well, when it was Dodge and now it's Ram, they were always very aggressive in the way that they marketed their program. And I listened to Tim talk about that. And he was actually on the marketing side when Dodge was in NASCAR before. So it'd be very interesting to see that aggressive approach from Dodge, and to have another manufacturer back in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is a pretty awesome thing.
Well, pit road is open.
We're going to have some takers. We got some folks that had some issues, Jamie, on pit road. Grant Enfinger had to make an extra stop due to a valve stem getting knocked out. He's now a lap down. Gio Ruggiero running up there in the 6th position when all this started. They had a really long pit stop, which has hung him a lap down. We'll see how that all plays out when we have our pit stops here.
There's a proof that pitted. He went a lap down. He will be the lucky dog, and they are coming away, Trevor.
Yeah, the 81 of Connor Mozak got some track position through that cycle, and they plan on keeping it here. You're going to see just a splash of fuel in the 81. He was a little free to start. Feels like the older tires are making him tighter, and the ultimate fix is clean air.
34 Lane Riggs might be the first one that we're hearing talking about win. He's very tight in 1 and 2, and that's where the crosswind is going down the racetrack. But he's perfect in tunnel and turn 3. So that could be his problem. The 45 Kate Honeycutt says the ride on his truck is really rough, and he's loose in, and it's hitting the splitter, which is moving up the racetrack. Jamie?
Thank you, Todd. Yeah, you see a lot of work on pit road, from air pressure to chassis adjustments throughout. You see Connor Mozak, his team, Trevor called it. Fuel only up 2 spots there. Lane Riggs loses 1 spot.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about that call, Michael. I just think that with the fall off and everything that was happening in the first stage with these tires, I think he's going to get ate up pretty quick here on the restart.
Well, the racing community lost a special man this week, Charlie Henderson, beloved owner of Henderson Motorsports. He formed the team back in 1982 as a part-time team in the Cup Series. He went on to win in the Xfinity Series and then twice right here in the trucks with driver Parker Kligerman. He was a veteran of the U.S. Army. Charlie Henderson was 88 years old.
Still races part-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at 75 team. Parker Kligerman's ran a couple of races this year with them. Crossed the start-finish line first at Daytona back in February with that team as well. Most recently had a win at Mid-Ohio 2 years ago in trucks also. Actually forgot that had happened earlier in the week, so I'm actually kind of glad that Fox had done something on their broadcast to put that out there. Frank Powers, welcome to the stream. Yep, Dodge Ram is back. So 4 trucks, I guess, is what they're looking at next year. I don't know if that's at least 4 that are confirmed and haven't announced it yet, or potentially more than 4. I think Stuart Friesen might have stayed out of the pits entirely. On our leaderboard, he scored ahead of Corey Heim. I would have expected that Heim would have been the leader. So maybe that means the 52 hasn't pitted yet. Interesting. Heim has led every green flag lap today outside of one, which was led by Lane Riggs, and then the caution came out, which ended stage 1 under yellow. That was for Cody Dennison blowing a right front tire in turn 1. Impacted the outside wall. Dennison is out of the race. Norm Benning and Brian Doza pulled into the garage early on. Start and park efforts there. And I wonder if any of them might return to the track to try to make up 9 laps or so they could pass Dennison in the running order. Dawson Cram also a handful of laps down. Grant Enfinger a lap down. He had to hit pit road as many did before the end of the stage, but unfortunately, because of a slow stop and how far back in the field he was at the time of making his stop, Lane Riggs staying out of the pits and winning the stage. Enfinger had actually fallen a lap down. As you heard on the broadcast, Raja Karut got the free pass for being the first car lap down, was also in the same situation, but Enfinger still a lap down. Can't take the wave around here because not everybody hit pit road that was a lap down because of the split strategy at the end of stage 1. Pocono is big enough that you can lead yourself into some strategy games like you would usually see in a road course where drivers at the front of the field will sacrifice stage points to restart out in front of the field. We'll see that in the Cup and Xfinity Series races this weekend as well.
It's Baseball Night in America with 2 of the league's biggest bats on deck as Pete Alonso and the Mets take on Kyle Schwarber and the Phillies, or the Royals battle the Padres. Check your local listing for the game in your area. That's tomorrow, 7 Eastern on Fox. Toby, you're a baseball guy.
I'm not as much of a baseball guy as I used to be. All my friends retired or moved on, and now you're so busy. So
I can't wait for the Bristol game. That's going to be so incredible.
That's quick.
Awesome. I know it.
August. Looking forward to that. And just, we've been talking in commercial, all these shots around this racetrack and how great it looks. It's just packed, beautiful weather. We've just been on a roll with NASCAR, I think. As a
Very
whole,
windy.
with the weather and where we've been racing and the turnouts. It's great to see.
Certainly is. Look at all those passionate race fans. Got their flags up, cheering for their favorite driver. The grandstands has a great crowd in it. and over 3,300 spots in that infield or in this racetrack, and they're sold out.
Well, we talked about a couple incidents and Gio Ruggiero, long stop. Trevor, what happened there?
Yeah, there was a lot to be missed in that cycle there with some people staying out like Stuart Friesen, but Gio Ruggiero hit pit road. He was in that 10-second window that would have kept him on the lead lap, but the stop, the left front tire got hung up, was an additional 5 seconds. That put him a lap down. They had to take the free pass there, and instead of restarting fourth here, they're now back in the field in 29th. These are the kind of things that Gio and his team want to clean up to get that first win.
Well,
And he's outside the playoff cut line too, so he definitely doesn't need an issue like that, which is going to take him out of any sort of a position to probably get stage points going forward in this race, even if he chooses to stay out at the end of stage 2. Green flag is in the air. Stuart Friesen, who stayed out of the pits entirely, is the leader, but on over 1. Couple of trucks fanning out the 3 wide late into the first turn, including the 81 of Connor Mosack, who is also, I believe, on older tires at the front of the field. Lane Riggs shuffled up, 3 wide middle. He loses ground. Tony Breininger may have gotten against the wall back in turn 1 as well, but we do stay green. 4 wide. Trying to funnel down to 3 wide at the very least, entering turn 2 in the middle of the pack. Chandler Smith in that gaggle of trucks. Trying to make headway back to the front of the field. He's got Ben Rhodes, Patrick Emmerling, and Tyler Ankrum, around him. Friesen not going to be able to lead a green flag lap as Corey Heim will rip by him on the outside of turn 3. Heim back to the point. And Carson Hocevar with a very big run behind Friesen will go for second place into the first turn. Hocevar will take over second. Heim sees that. Cuts down to the bottom of the track, trying to put whatever kind of dirty air he can on the 7. And this is as close as anybody has been to Corey Heim in this race under green flag conditions. So because of that great restart by the 7 to keep pace with the 11, we'll see what kind of pace he has to keep with him in the draft and how long he can stay with Corey, who definitely had the best truck back in stage 1. Lane Riggs in the running order is currently 7th after he had won the first stage. He stayed out to get those stage points, so he was back in traffic a bit. We'll keep an eye on the 34 team. Friesen's over a second off the lead, but still in third at the moment. Not anymore. Now he just got passed off turn 3. Jake Garcia moves into third. And Carson Hocevar now going for the lead after Corey Heim. Took a peek to the inside, but couldn't quite get by him. That was in turn 1. Turn 2, he's going to stay right behind him. It actually looked like the 7 got upset through the bumps on the inside of the track through the tunnel turn. His truck bounces up the racetrack, lost about a truck length or 2 of his gap to Corey Heim. A lot steadier through turn 3, but in the wake of the dirty air now, it's going to be tough to try to reel him back in. Corey Heim going to try to break whatever draft he can down this front straightaway as they cross the start-finish line, back and forth multiple times. Hocevar still gained quite a bit of that ground back. Through the bumps on the bottom of the track and again overdrives the car in turn 1. You can tell he is so tight, especially the closer he gets behind the 11. Having to run that same identical line. Not really a lot that Carson Hocevar can do at the moment. Jake Garcia's put down some pretty good lap times in third. He's only 1.2 seconds off the lead, but he is almost as quick as the leaders ahead of him. 55.1 that last lap and mid-55.0s for Garcia. Now they'll cross the start-finish line this time by, and it looks like Garcia dropped a couple tenths, so maybe I spoke too soon. Commentators curse potentially for Jake Garcia on the lap time side of things, but he's still holding on to third, which would be a great day and one needed for where he's at in the point standings. Friesen and Gray side by side. This is for fourth and turn 1. Gray on the inside. Friesen is up high. And they'll still be door to door by the exit of the corner. Gray will try to utilize the side draft on the inside of Friesen's race truck. And now dive off to full sail it into turn 2. Friesen's going to let him go. Smart move by Friesen, not wanting to test for that position on slightly older tires. But he's holding on to pretty decent track position, all things considered. Could be in position to maybe get a stage win out of it. Remember, he is locked into the playoffs with the win at Michigan, so keep himself high enough in the running order, get some stage points, and get a playoff point that could add on to the 5 he would have received a couple weeks ago. I don't know if Friesen has a stage win yet this year. No, he does not. So yeah, just the 5 playoff points for him. And he's not very high in the regular season standing, so the likelihood of getting many for his finish at the end of the regular season in trucks is very low also. I could see Friesen staying out to get the stage points here in stage 2. Although I also could see a lot of these drivers staying out with how long the stage length in stage 3 is compared to years past. It's right on the edge of the fuel window, so they may try to just pit during the yellow, so that way they're maximizing the efforts of trying to maybe make it in stage 3 without having to pit at all. So now that I think about it, we might not actually see pit stops before the end of stage 2 like we saw in stage 1, so for reason, I guess he's just trying to hold on for dear life at this point. Hocevar still right there behind Corey Heim, 3 to 4 tenths of a second back. No more, really no less for most of this run in stage 2. Only one caution today, which came at lap 19 for the Cody Dennison right front tire failure. That bled to the end of stage 1. Huge amount of debris on the grill of the 15 of Tanner Gray. Looks like he's got a trash bag or something. He had some debris on the grill earlier, too, when he was in the middle of the pack. Probably going to have to let Lane Riggs pass him so he could get tucked in line right behind him on the straightaway and allow the airflow to blow the trash off of the grill. Riggs looking to make the pass in turn 1. Gray's got to get tight up behind him. I think it blew off. Most of it did. Part of it is still there. But most of it is gone. I'm not sure if that's still going to be an issue for Gray or not. Trying to get as close to him as possible entering turn 2 in the draft. And now he's going to lose time as he goes through the bumps and washes up the track.
That man right there, Tanner Gray, had 2 big pieces. Actually, one larger piece that already flew off. He had debris on the grill, still a little piece remaining. But he's having a great run today. Running top 5 all race long. And Stuart Friesen, they gambled a little bit. They stayed out, did not pit, had the lead. Led 4 laps, but his time has come. He's coming down pit lane to fuel up for the first time today.
Set of tires, probably an adjustment, but I'm with you, Kevin. That was a good move for this team. Gained some track position, was able to hang there with those other trucks on the pressure tire. That means this 52 is handling well, and he's doing a nice job.
Yeah, and I really thought they were in a position to be swallowed up there on those restarts, but the way that those restarts worked out, I mean, he only lost 3 or 4 spots, and now they're going to get a full fuel and get 4 tires on that thing, stay on the lead lap, and they put themselves in a window that not very many other people are in. So it'll be really close for him as he comes off of pit road, staying on the lead lap right here, though.
If he stays on the lead lap, this is a great call because he can make this thing on one more stop.
Well, he's just got to hang on 4 more laps, 5 more laps here.
There's Ben Rhodes from the back of the pack, didn't have a chance to qualify earlier. He had an unapproved adjustment. So NASCAR said, nope, we got to start in the back. And he has fought his way back inside the top 10. Let's get an update, Todd.
Yeah, the 99 Ben Rhodes running really well. Truck is fast. He likes the way it's driving, but they got a problem. About halfway through the first run, it started missing. Not really a total miss, but it would actually stop running in the corners. Doug George's crew chief asked me, do you think it's electric? Do you think it's fence? And I think it's fuel, because once I get to the straightaway, it picks up and goes again. So about halfway through the run that started, now they just filled it with fuel, and the problem is gone. So Doug George crew chief feels like maybe they have a pinhole in the line in the fuel cell about halfway down, sucking air. And the problem with that is running that last stage and trying to make it to the end. They have no issues. They got to pit from you.
I want to tell you though, Todd, that 99 is fast. He's making more moves than anyone on the racetrack right now, driving through some really good trucks. So if that doesn't bite him, it could be a best day for Ben. Been a while since he could smile after the race, and this could be that day.
And that's what you hope for when you change the crew chiefs and you mix your teams up. You hope for a little bit of a jolt in the performance. So good to see for Ben Rhodes and his team and Thorsport.
I imagine that's a bit of an adjustment. They got the call that we had the weekend off last week and they decided to swap with the 66. So Rich Lucius, who's been working with Ben, is now with Luke Baldwin this weekend, but it could be just a one race swap. It could be the rest of the season. We don't really know. We'll see how it shakes out, but you guys said the 99 is fast, up to 8. As things look the same up front, Corey Hyde continues to lead over Carson Hocevar.
You mentioned Luke Baldwin and Rich Lucius getting together for this race at least. Luke in that 66 truck doing a nice job running inside the top 20, racing with some really good trucks there. And another truck to give a shout out to is just behind them, Dawson Sutton. We talked about his trouble in practice earlier. He's right there inside the top 20 as well.
Yeah, and you see that tape hanging off the back fender or back bumper cover right there on that 66 truck. Usually the tire carriers, they'll put tape on the tires to be able to park and kind of clock that wheel of tire where they want it to get it over the studs, and saw that thing flapping on the back bumper. It looks like it might be gone at this point.
2 laps to go here in stage 2.
There's Sutton closing in on Baldwin. Race around Grant Enfinger. Grant Enfinger's got some damage to that left front. They had to tape up and fix that. That aerodynamics will really hurt you here.
Yeah, it's the same thing that we saw on the Ty Majeski truck. Any of that damage that happens to the front end of these trucks just immediately disrupts everything that's happening from a downforce standpoint. But you see the truck in front of him right there, Dawson Sutton, that 26 truck. First lap of practice, went into turn 1, up the racetrack, brake pedal went to the floor, into the wall, and never being here before, didn't get any practice laps, didn't get to qualify. Now he's out there learning every lap while he's racing that Rackley Chevrolet around the racetrack.
And he's driven into the top, inside the top 20, so you got me thinking he's doing a really nice job with the limited experience that you talked about. And just behind this group, Gio Ruggiero, who had the problem on pit road, he's raced his way up to be competitive. There's Gio.
Final lap of stage number 2. It was Lane Riggs who won stage 1. Corey Heim is hoping to pick up yet another stage. He leads all drivers in stage wins this season. Points for the top 10.
Yeah, and as Corey Heim goes through the tunnel turn, coming to the last lap of this stage, Stuart Friesen and Chandler Smith right in front of him on the same straightaway have flipped the stage and will be able to stay on that lead lap with their strategy. So they're going to be on a little different strategy, but they're probably going to have decent track position as they start this stage.
Green and white checker flag is in the air. Corey Heim picks up his 12th stage win of 2025. Kosovar second, Lane Riggs third, Jake Garcia and Tanner Bray, your top 5. Certainly has a knack for getting it done. But can he hang on for the third and final stage? Corey Heim, won't be behind time for the 5th time this season. Stay with us. Pit stops on the backside.
I think Honeycutt had a top 3 at one point earlier this season. I know that some people in the chat are asking about him. Looks like he's got one top 5 this year. He's currently 6th right now. I swear he finished top 3 recently. Was it Charlotte? Yeah, Charlotte he finished 3rd. That's what I thought. And he was 6th at Nashville 2 races ago. So he's had a couple really good runs here lately. And another one here today as he's 6th at the end of stage 2. All right, so Corey Heim goes on to win stage number 2. 12 stage wins, I believe, for Corey Heim already this season in the Craftsman Truck Series. 12 stage wins, and it's only the 14th race of the season. He won both stages and won the race last year at Pocono. Pitted early to get track position for stage 2, but because of the last stage being 10 laps longer than a year ago, because this race overall is 10 laps longer, they're going to want to try to stretch this fuel window out as long as they can. So that is why nobody tried to short pit. And the only driver that did pit early was Stuart Friesen, but that's because he hadn't pit yet in the race at all. So Friesen is going with a straight up 2 pit stop strategy, assuming everybody else is not going to be able to make it on fuel to the end. Will we see anybody try to make it if this final stage goes green? And that's another big if, obviously. So these may not be the final pit stops of the race coming up. We could also see drivers stay out here and then just pit when they get in the window instead of pitting twice. But then they're going to have to top off with a little bit more gas on the next run. So there's some strategies that could come above what I'm just thinking of off the top of my head right now. Because I didn't even really think about the strategy of staying out and then just pitting early in stage 3. There's enough tire wear that you don't want to be the first to pit last, because you'll end up giving up too much time. Because that would usually be the road course strategy. And we've seen already some sort of road course strategy at the end of stage 1 with drivers pitting before the end of the stage and sacrificing some stage points. So stage 2 results for the top 10, excuse me. Corey Heim wins the stage. Carson Hocevar second. Lane Riggs third. Jake Garcia fourth. Tanner Gray fifth. And then Caden Honeycutt in 6th. Tyler Ankrum 7th. Ben Rhodes 8th. Andres Perez 9th. Connor Mosack rounds out the top 10. 1 point per position. And again, Corey Heim wins the stage.
Looks like Bugle Boy pants and a lot more hair.
What is going on here?
Oh my gosh.
Myers. Crap happened.
Did you go in the wrong room? What happened there?
All right. Well, it looks like we got checked into the same room there, but I was more worried about Myers and Hammond at that point. But the best part about that little skit, that's not the whole skit, but the best part about that skit was when Myers popped the cork out of the champagne and hit Delana square in the head.
She said that's the last pre-show I
Yeah,
enjoyed with
she
you.
probably didn't think it was as funny as we did, but we thought it was pretty funny at the time.
Welcome to Pocono.
That was I believe that was a heart-shaped bathtub, was it not?
That's what they're known for, right?
They were having a little champagne, huh?
It looks that way.
We roped you guys into some crazy things.
Yes, you did.
You're a good sport. So back to the action, and Corey Heim just broke a record. His 12th stage win of the season. That is the most ever in the Truck Series.
Here at Pocono a year ago, he won both stages and the race. They've repeat that again.
Well, let's just mention that we have four more races in the regular season after this, and then all the playoffs still to go too. So, what a season that Corey Heim has put together, and I've said it multiple times. This guy's going to be racing on Sunday and be successful in what he does. But right now, he's just kicking our butt in the Truck Series.
He's doing what he can, and the question is, when will he be full-time in the Cup? Pit road is open. Trevor, your first up.
Yeah, Tanner Gray coming up pit road here. Feels really good on the short run, but building loose as he goes. And keep in mind, he's had trash on the grill twice. So they're trying to get this 15 truck pulled down, Todd.
The 11 of Corey Hines started that run off too free and then trained it to the tight side. He told his crew chief, guys, with the belly, if we tighten it up, we're going to be too tight at the end of the race. It's kind of replied, make sure you get it full to the gas man. Carson Hocevar got the worst problem he can have in the race car driver. The front end isn't turning and the back end's on top of the racetrack. He said, we've got to get more overall grip if we're going to run with the 11. Jamie?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if that 7 truck gets him fixed up and if he can run with Corey Heim. Corey Heim's team once again gets it done. Third and final stage of Pocono is coming up.
Ended up not being a bad idea for Lane Riggs to stay out and get the stage win back at stage 1 because he's in second place right now anyway. Carson Hocevar did not have a good pit stop, and he is no longer in the top 2. I didn't see how far down the leaderboard he had fallen, so we'll have to wait for our leaderboard to update when they get to the start-finish line this time, but I didn't see him in the top 10. So slow stop on the 17, it looks, and Corey Heim again won the race off pit road, so he'll be the leader on the restart to begin stage 3. 4 lead changes so far today. 5, actually. 5 lead changes in the race. 2 cautions, and again, that fuel window under green flag laps, 31 to 34 laps, according to Fox on the pre-race. And right now we're at 37 laps to go. By the time we get a restart, 35 or 36 to go, I'd imagine. The only driver that we know has to pit before the end of the race would be Stuart Friesen. Unless he came down and topped off during this last caution, but I don't think that's the case. Hocevar was still in the top 10. He fell back to 6th, it looked like. So Hocevar's in 6th. Lost 4 positions in the pits. Raja Karut stayed out entirely. So trying to get track position for the beginning of the stage. And I don't know if he pitted before the end of the last stage or not. But he definitely stayed out during the stage break. Because he is now the leader. Thanks for everybody tuning in. We'll take a quick break here while we're waiting the restart to begin stage 3. Listening live to the MillerTech Battery 200 at Pocono. Just ended the chat poll. Since we're at the end of stage 2, I got to get a diecast showing out here as well. I'd imagine there's going to be another commercial break at some point before the end of the race. So I'll show you guys the diecast showing during the commercial break later because I'm going to have to get up and find one. 36% of you took Corey Heim for the race win. 26% had somebody other than Heim, Riggs, or Hocevar. Riggs at 19%, Hocevar at 17% of the votes. 52 votes were casted entirely. You didn't miss the diecast show, and it'll be coming up here in a little bit.
And qualifying kick things off at 10 a.m. on the CW, followed by the Cook Series practice and qualifying at the 12:30 Eastern on Prime. Triple header weekend. What a beautiful weekend it is. So third and final stage here. 36 laps to go. That's outside that fuel window. So what do you do to help them, Mr. Kevin?
Well, watch. You hear him right there. You hear Chandler Smith flip that kill switch right there to shut the engine off. You push the clutch in, and you just let that motor stay off. And when you have that switch shut off, you flip it back on while the engine is dead, and then listen, you'll hear him pop the clutch, and the engine will come back on.
And this is an art. You want to just take advantage and do the best job you can as a driver, just in kicking the power back on, right back off. You want to try to take advantage of every foot on that racetrack. You can have that engine off.
Yeah, and it's all about how many seconds can I leave the vehicle off. I want that truck to run as little as possible in order to save gas. So that's what he's doing right here. And it just depends on how close this gets to being in everybody's window. You know, we talk about 31 to 34 laps. So right now we see 35 laps to go. We've seen a couple trucks on pit road and topping their fuel tanks off. So if there's no caution right here, this is going to get really interesting.
Trevor Bain will break. He told us if we get one caution, that'll make these guys pretty good to go. So we're looking up. They think the last 5 Pocono races had a caution in the final stage, and the last 2 races here haven't both. So history says they'll be all right.
You can see a lot of the trucks in the back there pitted to top their tanks off, and that was good news for Chandler Smith because he wanted to just save fuel get some track position, and then be able to make it all the way there. That's his goal.
And you're going to see a funny lineup right here at the back of the field. So, you know, when they hit an extra time, that's actually a penalty. So they're gonna all line up single file at the end of the longest line. So you're going to see a bunch of trucks double file, then you're going to see a bunch of trucks at the back of the pack single file. So when you put that extra time, you don't get the option to choose. So you have to line up single file at the tail end of the longest line.
7 trucks came down pit road a second time and topped off.
All right, well, field window's 31 to 34 laps, and here we go. Restart, 34 laps to go. Raja Caruth is the leader. Green flag back in the air. We know he's going to have to pit before the end of the race. He stayed out of the pits during the end of stage 2. Corey Heim is trying to go for the lead on the inside of row number 1, getting a major bump draft from behind by Ty Majeski, who's up in the top 3 for the first time today. Majeski will slingshot that 11 truck of Corey Heim out in front. Majeski trying to take over second for himself now, but is not clear. And with no drafting help on the bottom, he's going to get freight trained down the next straightaway. Caruth, Riggs, and Hocevar all get by Majeski before getting into turn 2. Honeycutt to the outside of the 98. The 98 wiggled just a little bit through the center of the corner, and he'll lose that spot also. Stuart Friesen, Chandler Smith on screen battling just outside the top 10 as they will now go single file off turn 3 as the 38 will complete the pass on the 52. That is for 12th. Lane Riggs is up to second through turn 3 as he was able to get by Caruth. Same for Carson Hocevar to third. Hocevar bump drafting Riggs, trying to get him closer to the race leader at the front of the pack. Heim ended up having a distance of 1.2 seconds over Carson Hocevar at the finish of stage 2. And then Lane Riggs was in third. He had restarted further back in the stage. Oh boy, 4 wide, turn 2. Now it's down to 3 wide by the time they got into the corner. Contact and a couple trucks are around, including Ankrum, Enfinger, and several others stacking up into it further back. That was right where they were 4 wide at the middle of the Long Pond straightaway between turns 1 and 2. And as they entered turn 2, they got down to 3 wide, but obviously that wasn't enough room. 44 is involved as well. A lot of damage to the left side of Ankrum's truck. He also backed it up against the outside wall. Dawson Sutton is caught up in it. '22 truck parked against the outside wall. That's Clayton Green. Well, we're going to have some retirees from this incident. Ankrum, Enfinger, Sutton, Green, Jones. There might have been more involved in the incident other than those 5, but those 5 I know for a fact have significant damage. Huge hole in the right side of Enfinger's truck. Showing a replay. Enfinger, Rhodes, Ankrum were 3 wide. And it looks like they just kind of ran out of room. The 9 was down on the bottom and didn't really look like he pushed too far tight. At least from that angle, it seemed like he was still down on the yellow line. But with where the 18 was and the 99 in the middle, somebody had to lift getting into the corner there, and nobody did. Ran out of room. I mean, Enfinger might have moved up just a little bit, but I couldn't tell if that was before the contact with Rhodes or not. I need an aerial shot, or like a high above shot. Really see if the 9 was actually changing lanes or not there. If he would have, it would have been because he overdrove the entry to the corner, obviously, but like I said, I don't know if there was contact before he moved up or not. 3 wide, middle of the pack. That's the product of what just happened there. So everybody's in fuel saving mode now with 31 laps to go as they get the quick caution a couple laps into stage 3, in which we were already on the verge of whether to make it or not make it on fuel to the end of the race. Drivers at the back of the pack are really going to benefit from this because they'll be able to top off. Others are not going to want to lose track position and stay out, so they can ensure that they're going to be much better on fuel to the end than everybody else who will be saving and trying to stay up at the front of the pack. Corey Heim has dominated races this year and then ended up not winning them in some ways. And I don't think fuel mileage has been one of those ways yet. Actually, no, Rockingham fuel mileage costed him. But that was more pit strategy than fuel mileage. Like, we knew he was going to be short to the end, and it just wasn't the right pit strategy, and he was able to come back and still finish second. But if he runs out of fuel late, that could be the difference maker in him winning and not winning today's race when he's been the dominant truck yet again. Second caution for incident, obviously our first of stage 3, as we have about 30 laps to go here at Pocono, just over an hour into the race, 16 lead changes. And I mentioned 2 incidences, 1 caution not for incident, which was the stage 2 yellow at lap 40, lap 19, bleeding into the end of stage 1 was our first caution for incident. Cody Dennison was knocked out of the race then. Norm Benning, Brian Dozit, Dawson Cram all out of the race before this incident. Connor Jones climbed out of his truck already, so he'll be done for the day. I would imagine same for Clayton Green. Ankrum, Sutton, and Enfinger were able to drive back to pit road, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to continue or not, as they were also involved. 5-truck incident, turn 2 at Pocono on the race start. You're listening live on KRC. We'll take a quick break and continue our live commentary coverage of the MillerTech Battery 200. Top 10 on the upcoming restart will have Corey Heim in the lead, Lane Riggs in second, Carson Hocevar third, Caden Honeycutt fourth, Raja Caruthan fifth, Tanner Gray sixth, Ty Majeski seventh, Jake Garcia eighth, Brandon Jones ninth, Chandler Smith rounding out the top 10 spots.
No one to be back, no second chances. Coverage begins Sunday at 6 Eastern on Fox. A lot of Fox coverage.
I'm really disappointed you didn't have to say CONCACAF there.
Well, you said it for me.
Yeah.
We continue the CONCACAF Gold Cup. As cleanup continues here, involved in the wreck, 6 trucks. Grant Enfinger, they came in and pitted once, Michael, and
It didn't go well. That
they did it.
fender didn't get clearance, and now they're taking their time and working on it. Not a lot of damage, just right there on that right front corner. See if Grant can get that tidied up.
The first time they missed it by a mile, and it flattened the second tire that they put on. So now, as you see the 44 truck of Connor Jones still getting towed back in right there, we've got more caution laps. So what do you do here, Mike? Do you stay on the racetrack and keep your track position up front? If you're in the middle of the pack pit,
I'm staying out if I'm up front because I want to make sure that I keep my track position. I think if there's not another caution you pit here, unless you're Corey Heim, Superman, you're probably not going to be able to get back through the field.
There's Superman. He wears the cape right there. Scott Zipatelli, the man calling the shots for Corey Heim atop the pit box. And I wondered about this. Raja Karub. They had made their bed. They stayed out.
and they were the 71 truck was the only truck on this strategy. The last time they pitted was, lap 25 or 23. So, they gambled a little bit right there, and everybody else in the field did not. So now they have to kind of start over here and put new tires on, but they're going to have fuel.
They're going to have plenty of fuel. They're not going to have any worries, and he's had a solid truck. So if this thing does go green and some of these guys start running out, they're going to feel really good about this strategy.
But what if the green light checkers come into play? He stalled the accident and give a little help. 29 laps to go, but right now we're under caution for the 3rd time at Pocono Raceway for an incident that claims 6 truck.
All right. We'll go through the full field running order then while we're still under caution. Cleanup continues at Pocono. Corey Heim again is the race leader. Lane Riggs in second. Carson Hocevar third. Caden Honeycutt fourth. Tanner Gray fifth. Sixth place is Raja Karut, though he just hit pit road, so he'll be at the back of the pack here shortly. Ty Majeski in 7th, Jake Garcia 8th, Brandon Jones 9th, Chandler Smith, in 10th. And 11th is Connor Mosak, Stuart Freeze in 12th, Jack Wood 13th, Patrick Emmerling 14th, and Daniel Hemrick 15th. Andres Perez 16th, Matt Crafton 17th, Nathan Bird 18th, Luke Baldwin 19th, Gio Ruggiero 20th. 21st, Frankie Muniz, Matt Mills 22nd, Tyler Tomasi 23rd, Tony Breitinger 24th. She also just hit pit road. Spencer Boyd 25th, Ben Rhodes 26th. Grant Enfinger a lap down now in 27th after just being involved in this last incident. Same for Tyler Ankerman 28th. Dawson Sutton's 3 laps down in 29th, so he may be done for the day. Clayton Green 30th, Connor Jones 31st, Dawson Cram, almost said Dawson Sutton again. We got 2 Dawsons. Dawson Cram 32nd. Cody Dennison 33rd, Norm Benning 34th, and Brian Dozit 35th. So that rounds out the field. 28 laps to go, currently under the yellow. Irene Nasser, thanks for tuning in. And many others who I might not have shouted out throughout the course of today's live commentary stream at Pocono for the Craftsman Truck Series. Thank you for watching. Our like goal is 50 for today's race. We're at 35 right now, so be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. I didn't get the diecast showing out at the end of stage 2, so here it is. I got former Truck Series champion Greg Biffle, and this is his Busch Series championship winning race car from 2002 for today's diecast showing, the Charter number 60 Ford Taurus. Classic number. Carl Edwards won in this car a ton. Chris Buescher won a championship in the number 60 in the Xfinity Series level. Then they had that really bad stretch in the mid-2010s after Chris Buescher won his championship. Who was in that car? Cindric, Ty Majeski, Travis Pastrana. Yeah, they had some bad runs, but before that, a lot of good stuff. And it's the diecast showing for today's race.
We are to the end of the regular season. This is how the points look as of now. You see the drivers in yellow. They are locked into the playoffs. That gives 4 spots remaining. Michael, what do you see as biggest change?
Well, there's just that bubble. You know, whether you're in or you're out. Tom Majeski with issues. Nice job. Jake Garcia all year long, been very steady, very consistent. But I do believe, Kevin, that there's somebody below that line that wins a race and throws another pitch that people's giddy up.
Yeah, and you think about today, Ty Majeski had right front damage on his fenders. Now you see him 8 out, his teammate Garcia in, like you're saying. But Grant Enfinger, he was 52 points above the cut line before that last wreck, and now he's only plus 28. So we talk about winners, but those points still matter.
That's right.
It's a balancing act, and as you have that 56-point lead, which is almost a whole race, now you've almost cut it in half.
And we talked about so much the speed of Lane Riggs. Well, he's 54 to the good now, but you saw how fast things got serious for Stuart Friesen. So nothing's a guarantee. And we've got some really interesting racetracks coming up as we race toward the playoffs.
Yes, we do. Let's take a look at what our next 6 weeks look like. Got the 2.5-mile triangle where we are now. And next week, doing something for the first time, we're going to Lime Rock.
Yeah, and you think about guys like Connor Mosak and that have that road racing background and have been to some of these, probably been to Lime Rock in something other than the truck. So, good road racer. And that's the type of situation that can really mix these point standings up.
There's 4 races remaining in the regular season after tonight's race.
We're hopping on a couple of short tracks to wind things down. This is fun.
Trevor, what are you hearing on Ty Majeski? They've had their work cut out for him today.
They certainly have, Jamie. They had that left front fender damage early in the race, and they didn't even think they could get it fixed. The crew chief on the radio telling, man, I don't know if there's hope for this thing, but they've got it fixed up. You know, he's up in the top 10 now. But, Kevin, you were just talking about road racers and Connor Mosak at some of these tracks. How about Ty Majeski at the short tracks we got coming up?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at IRP and you look at Richmond, and it just screams his name and his team and the success that they have had on those short tracks. So this thing is wide open for that bubble spot and who gets in on points and how many winners we have over the next 4 weeks. But there are definitely some interesting racetracks as to who could win. But those short tracks, Ty Majeski, I don't care how he's run everywhere else. When you go to Richmond and IRP, he's most likely going to be in the mix.
He got his first win of the year in 2024 at IRP. I know they've got that one circled. And I'm just impressed by what they did. I mean, Trevor just said they didn't even know if they could get the truck fixed. And now here he is running 6th.
I'm going to choose it up here, Todd. What's happening down there in the 34 pit?
Well, Michael, lane rig started on the pole and started the race off pretty good. That first run was a little loose, so let's talk to Bill Capello, his crew chief. He said he tightened it up, went a little too far. It was a little too tight the second run. So this last stop, he said he went right down the middle, hoping that that's the right magic number on the air pressure and if they can run an 11 truck.
Well, Todd, when we talked to Lane before the race on the parade lap, he was so confident about his truck in the long run and how it handled in practice. So that adjustment, maybe stepping a little bit too far going back, he could be seriously competing for this win with Corey Haas.
Yeah, and as you look at, it's 6:35 here, and you start to see those shadows on the side of the truck. And usually one of the first things that happens at Pocono, as the sun sets, those shadows start to creep in over turn 3. And when that track temperature goes down, we know how fast it starts to cool off in the mountains. But that shadow starting to creep in over turn 3 sometimes starts to change how those trucks handle. But we're not quite to that point yet of the shadows in turn 3.
This is going to be a wild restart. We saw that last time. That's why we're under this caution. And by the way, ever since we've gone under caution, Chandler Smith has been saving just as much gas. It's just a process all the way to when they get ready to line up here on the front straightaway. He'll get after the gas, shake those tires down, and then go racing in that 38 truck.
Look on the pylon on the top, Corey Heim. The clock is back, and it's not because of time. He has the fastest lap so far tonight. Make it an extra point. He won the race as the fastest lap turn. 54:51. I think he's getting around here in 54 and a half seconds. It's moving. So the most laps tonight, too. 42 laps led. Lane Riggs, 5 laps led.
It's going to get serious, Jane.
Corey Heim warming up those tires. Shows the outside. Lane Riggs on the inside. Carson Hosevar just behind. Back of the green.
And you see both of those trucks in the second row getting a great restart and attached to the bumper of the trucks in front of them. See those, you see those trucks moving around as they're.
Ooh.
Attack Jake Garcia. Gets him in the back of Honey. Slides up the pit track.
No, they're not straight anymore. They're crashing up turn 1. Jake Garcia is going to hit the inside wall after a contact from behind as he was trying to save his truck up the racetrack because of trying to make a save after making contact getting into turn 1 with Caden Honeycutt. I don't know if anybody else was collected other than Garcia when it comes to significant damage, but the caution flag is out.
Games just like that. And that fast, we go from Jake Garcia having a chance to run up front, get a great finish, to done for the day.
It's above the bubble. He was kind of sitting right there, and now this is going to hurt him in the points. So we're under caution here for the 4th time at Pocono Raceway. 24 laps to go. This is the incident.
Yikes.
Jake Garcia around his day is done.
They were 3 wide trying to race around Jake Garcia. And there were 2 trucks that were underneath him that were kind of crowding him up. And as he was going up the racetrack, I believe it was Ty Majeski in the 98 who got into the back of him. It looked like it. Friendly fire there with the teammates at Thor Sport Racing. Trying to find Majeski in the running order to see if that would be an accurate statement or not. I don't see him. Skipping him somewhere. He's in 13th, so that could have been it. Garcia was up in the front couple of rows. I believe row 2 on the restart. Obviously not going to be the case anymore. or he was challenging for row 2. He was in row 3, and he was trying to get to the inside of the 45 of Caden Honeycutt, excuse me. I got a bit of a headache, so if I've been slipping up on my speech throughout the course of the stream today, I apologize for that. I'm not on my A game today when it comes to the commentary side of things. Get to do it all over again the next 2 days, though, so I'll be better as the weekend progresses. But anyway, he was trying to get to the inside of Caden Honeycutt in the 45 on corner entry into turn 1. Honeycutt chopped him off late. Honeycutt slid up the racetrack first. And then I think Garcia might have had contact from behind him after that checkup into the first turn. And that's what kind of sent him wide. And as he was working himself up the racetrack, there were a couple other trucks that were underneath him. And like they ran out of room, 3 wide at Pocono again. Had a 3 wide incident in turn 2. A couple laps after the last restart, and now a caution on the first lap following this restart exiting turn 1. And because of back-to-back cautions early in this final stage, I would imagine that these teams are going to be able to make it on fuel to the end of the race as long as we don't go well past the scheduled distance.
For the incident involving Jake Garcia, and we've got to look at this once again. Unbelievable that it was only one truck that really suffered the most damage.
Yeah, you see Jake inside third row right there. He's going to peek under the 45 truck right there.
Just got squeezed a bit.
Yeah,
and up the hill.
it wasn't his fault.
I thought he had it all gathered up, but then right here, Brandon Jones bounces into it, puts him right up in front of Majeski.
Yeah, and then Majeski had nowhere to go and spins him around. And I cannot believe all these guys missed that spinning 13 truck.
Going about 160 miles an hour or so. Look at this.
And you see the one into the side right there and right up in front of Majeski.
Almost turned Andres Perez.
Right there by the pack. Like you said, he started on the inside of the third row, and there was a lot of trucks that had to miss him.
Oh, this will be good. You can really get a good view. You see Honeycutt just squeeze it down up the racetrack right there. Floor slam. Almost wipes the right rear quarter panel off of Chandler, but he actually hits the 77 right rear quarter panel right there.
Andres Perez did a nice job of keeping that thing straight, but a lot of damage to his truck as well. And this is the result for Jake Garcia.
Need to get him back out there so with as many points as possible. We talked about the playoffs aren't far off.
This is good news for all of our truckers that we're close on fuel. Should be getting close to a point where we can save enough now to be good for not only the finish of the race, but maybe even a green, white checkered if that happens.
Kevin, you talked about that time of day. How much shade now.
And that really changes things at this racetrack as you see the 98 truck coming down pit road right here. Gonna put those sticker tires on to Trevor.
Yeah, Kevin, they had a long discussion about this stop. Keep in mind the 98 was on 2 tires that last stop. That's what got him some track position. They talked about how many cars are on the lead lap, and if he could get back to the field, at the end of the day, they decided to put some stickers on this 98 truck for Ty.
Oh. I like it. I'd always much rather be on offense than just trying to play the track position game. And even if you got to go to the back of the pack, you're kind of running 12, 13, 14, somewhere right in there. Probably make up some good track position with those tires and at least be in control of going forward.
Yeah, you could be aggressive. Attack. Sure, that motor's really low RPM range. Not shut her down right now, though.
Sign that he could be good to go.
And you want to ride around in 4th gear. You want to keep those RPMs low and be able to keep the fuel usage down as much as possible. Keep the engine cool. But not only when you're saving gas, but a lot of times you'll shut that engine off to keep that intake manifold cold and try to get the engine as cool as possible. They get the most power out of the truck on the restarts, which are so important here. You want to have maximum power on the restarts to be able to have that truck run as good as possible. And being cool is part of that process.
Stuart Friesen riding along, saving fuel. It's up to 7 after bouncing all over the place here today.
Yeah, they had their strategy at the beginning of the race, just didn't work out for them and weren't able to have things fall their way, but they've rebounded nicely.
Shut her down and is coasting. Still, fuel is a concern.
So the top 14 last pitted on lap 43, and since then we've had 15 laps of caution.
Wow.
You have to remember if we have overtime, how long these laps are.
I think they're in pretty good shape now. I mean, that's a lot of caution laps that we've run in this final stage right here. So you never know, but it seems like they're in pretty good shape, even probably for at least one overtime attempt.
A lot of trucks on and off pit road making those repairs. Here you can see Ben Rhodes. Campers in RV number 99. They've about got him all tidied up, I think. Now they're just adding fuel and making sure their repairs are still there. Also saw Grant Enfinger on and off pit road. He's got his tires all clearance, I think.
There's been a lot of action so far. Let's take a look back at the recap of the day. Lane Riggs leads the field to green for the first time in his career. For the 19 and the 98, they have contact. There's two.
Turkey Dennison into the outside wall into turn one there. Heavy damage.
Lane Riggs picks up stage number 1. The battle here. Corey Heim around Stuart Friesen.
There's a lot of this number 11 in the lead.
Yes.
Sweeping the first 2 stages in that 11 truck.
Corey Heim picks up his 12th stage win of the season right there. In this contact, Grant Enfinger, Tyler Ankrum, Ben Rhodes involved, and driven from the back of the field up to the top 10, and now we're continuing to work on that damage. And now, under caution for this incident, Jake Garcia.
He's bounced off the one truck up in front of his teammate, nowhere to go for Tom Majeski. It's been an eventful day for Majeski, hasn't it? Done a nice job of recovering so far, though.
Sure has. Joe Shear Jr. on the box, doing a nice job keeping them calm. You see here the race summary, 4 different leaders, 6 different lead changes. Trucks on the lead lap, 26. Under caution now for the 4th time. How's this one going to shake out? I feel like we're in this position so often, guys. We're
I have 20 laps to go, I believe, maybe 19 on the restart. About the length of what stage 1, stage 2 was. Longest green flag run of the day was 19 laps at the beginning of the race before the first yellow. Haven't had a green flag run longer than that, so this would be about equal if we stayed green to the finish. Corey Heim outside of row 1 will be the leader on the restart. Inside of that row will be Lane Riggs. So Corey Heim, Lane Riggs first and second. Then Carson Hocevar is in third. Tanner Gray fourth. Connor Mosack rounds out the top 5. Great run for that 81 here today. And we'll see if we can get some green flag racing in stage 3 this time around. I think the Iceman was Terry Labonte, wasn't it? I thought that was his nickname. I always remember that from the NASCAR Thunder 2004 video games, so they'd have those like previews or whatever before the race would start. Kind of like the MRN broadcast, if you will. Gregory Bradley, thanks for tuning in. Shout out to you for watching. As well, somebody else I didn't shout out. It's in the stream. Mark Guest, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, just over 50 people watching. Our like goal is 50 for this stream today. So if you haven't hit the like button yet, be sure to do so. We're at 39 likes. Oh, Corey Heim's blowing up under caution.
How many times have we seen this with Heim? I mean, you just said
I'm-
it, and here we are.
He's going to come in and get that tire changed and put gas in it. And then hopefully,
Is that a tire?
you know, if he can get the caution, then he can get back in this thing. A long way to go. A lot of trucks on the lead lap. But
Are they restarting or are we?
Scott Cividelli saying what? Well, like 48 laps today, picked up a stage win. They were leading, and now he has to come down pit road.
That
Get a new
should,
tire.
They're restarting without him.
that should make Riggs the control truck right here. I'm sure that they're having a discussion about who the control truck is, but
Well, it's Carson Kosovar who
It
leads.
should be Lane Riggs, right?
Lane Riggs
I'm confused.
beats a great finish. There he is at the 15 truck in third. Connor Mozak, he's been there all day. He's got the strategy early. So they didn't know if it would work, but there they are again. That's how good this truck has been.
Race here this way into seconds. A little bit calmer restart.
Restart is under review and kind of your like. We're sure that the control truck is going to.
It should have been Riggs. Riggs should have been the control truck, and Carson Hocevar launched first.
That's what I was saying. When it switched like that, 34 truck became the control truck, and there you go. Seven is getting a restart violation right there, because when the leader of the race fell back, that makes the 34 truck the control truck because he was the second place truck, and right there, Carson just didn't understand the rules, and now has been black flagged. Lane Riggs will be your leader.
Oh my goodness, how things have just changed.
Wow. Some trucks we thought were favorites to win. I've had problems here.
I mean, clear as day, he knew if this was the control truck.
And that's when the driver, the spotter, and the crew chief have to know the rules. And the rule is, when the leader goes off the racetrack, it switches to the second place truck.
So the 11th finally makes it down in his pit. 18 laps to go. We know Hocevar has been penalized. So that'll give the lead to Lane Riggs. Let's listen to Carson Hocevar's radio after the penalty.
And you can argue all you want, but once the decision is made, you're going to have to stop.
You were the first one to the box, and you were the first one to take off. You broke the rules. I mean, that's the bottom line. So, like I say, that's a tough spot to be in. We saw that at Indianapolis in the Cup race a couple of years ago with
Blaney and Larson.
Blaney and whoever else was Kyle Larson was on the front row right there, but very unique situation.
The Carson Hocevar was given the black flag to sign instead. He does have to come in and do a drive-through penalty.
That's right.
We're waiting for him to pull off. That'll give the lead to Lane Riggs.
He asked the team to argue it, but there's no argument. So they'll come to pit road here. And again, like Corey Haim, hope for a caution to see if we can make something happen late in the race.
Unbelievable. 16 to go, and two fastest trucks, Michael, on pit road for different issues. Lane Riggs gets his first career pole today. Will it be his day to get the win? First one of the season?
Well, he talked about the first adjustment was too much. Phil DeFellow went back and took half of that adjustment out, and it looks like he's just loving his truck right now, running some of the fastest times of the day.
And either way, wiped out his two main competition. And so the quality of the truck only went down. That was necessary to be able to lead the race when the 7 and the 11 truck. So even with his bad adjustment, he was probably better than the 15 and 45 behind him, because he's had a really good truck all day.
Let's get an update on Tanner Gray running second, Trevor.
Yeah, guys. Well, as you can imagine, the intensity just picked up for those top drivers, and not one of them sees it. But for Tanner Gray, his spotter Colin Presley tell him, go get the 34. You're as good as him on the long run. Also, tell him about the wind that just picked up down the front stretch, guys.
It becomes a factor. It could shove your truck around. You have to deal with it.
And the pace is just faster. We see Lane Riggs was 4/10 faster than Tanner Gray that last lap, but the pace itself has picked up because the temperature has gone down. You see cloud cover over the racetrack. That just really makes the speed in this racetrack start to rise when it cools off like this.
What about Patrick Emmerling up in the top 10? Was 6th there, just lost his spot to Mozak.
Yeah, just to go over it here quickly, Carson Hocevar did jump the restart. There wasn't anything about him not jumping the restart. Because Corey Haim was the leader, had a flat tire, pulled off the racetrack, Hocevar took his spot on the front row, but because he wouldn't have been the next driver in the running order, that's why Lane Riggs was the controlled truck. And Hocevar clearly launched first, and he was almost a full truck like that ahead by the time they got to the start-finish line. So that was Carson not knowing the rules, the crew chief, maybe not reminding his driver, hey, don't launch first here. Miscommunication there. Just all around, not a good situation to be in. Obviously, they were put in a spot where they weren't expecting Corey Haim to surrender his front row restarting position, but he did, and next man up jumped the restart. I think Irene, I would assume that you're probably talking about the Michigan restart a couple weeks ago when he jumped it and didn't get called for it. I don't know why he didn't at the tail end of the pack when he was coming from so far back. He passed like 5 rows of trucks before they got into the first turn by kind of holding back on the restart. So it wasn't necessarily like jumping the restart there. It still shouldn't have been a thing, but I think NASCAR just missed it. Live and watching the race, if you were probably there, you would have seen that he had a huge head of steam at Michigan and was able to pass a bunch of trucks into the first turn. I don't think they mentioned it on the broadcast at all. At least I was doing the commentary during that portion of the race. So maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but I would like to think they probably didn't. Especially considering that the truck broadcasts are now on remote locations from the Charlotte studios. 12 laps to go this time by for Lane Riggs as he's out in front by 1.7 seconds over Tanner Gray. We were just talking about him earlier in the stream, not having a win this season. Stayed out to get some stage points in stage 1. Won the first stage as a result of that when a lot of other drivers around him pit. Was still fast enough to overcome the deficit of track position early in stage 2 to getting to 3rd place, only behind the 2 trucks who were probably faster than him or just as fast throughout the day, Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar. Now, I would probably argue that Lane Riggs had a faster truck than Carson Hocevar today, but because, again, of that lack of track position for Lane Riggs, because of getting those stage points earlier, he lost that track position, and then he got it back on pit road during the last pit stop of the day during the stage 2 break. Was second out of the pits, and now Corey Heim having the flat tire. I don't think anybody's going to have anything for Lane Riggs the rest of this race on speed. If we get into a restart situation, we did see Lane Riggs from the race lead because he was the pole sitter earlier, blow the lead through the first turn, actually lost a few positions, fell back to 4th before he was able to scratch and claw his way back to a stage win. So in the event that that could happen, I'm not going to say that Lane Riggs is necessarily won this race at this point. If it stays green to the end, though, it's going to take a miracle for somebody not named Lane Riggs to win. These drivers should be good on fuel to the end of this stage. They've ran 15 caution laps in stage 3. I'm not sure how many of those were since they last pitted. It was probably more like 11 or 12, but it's enough. Because we had our first restart for stage 3 after the stage 2 break at 34 laps to go. The estimated fuel window was 31 to 34 green flag laps, so we were right at the edge of it, and we had 2 cautions after. Unless we see 1 or 2 overtimes, I don't think that anybody's going to be short on fuel. And if they are, it's because they were way short of filling the tank up full when they last came down to top off. So with 10 laps to go in the race, again, Lane Riggs is out in front. Now a 2.7 second lead over Tanner Gray. That last lap, he was about a half a second quicker than second place. Caden Honeycutt's in 3rd at 5.5 seconds off the lead. Brandon Jones is 7.3 seconds back in 4th. Daniel Hemrick 7.8 seconds off the lead in 5th. Connor Mosack is 9.6 seconds back in 6th. Chandler Smith is 10 seconds off the lead in 7th, 11.5 seconds to Patrick Emmerling in 8th. Good run in the 07. I think that's the first time he's been in that truck this year. Stuart Friesen in 9th is 12.1 seconds off the lead, and Ty Majeski 12.2 seconds back, rounding out the top 10. And he came down and took fresh tires during the second to last yellow. Actually, it would have been the last caution. Yeah, he came down and took tires under the last caution. So he is up quite a few spots from the restart because of that. 13 positions gained already. And he's got a couple of trucks within a second ahead of him, Friesen and Emmerling. And I would imagine he's got the pace to get by those trucks as well. Big strategy call for Majeski. Of course, his teammate Jake Garcia was taken out in that last incident, and that's the driver he's racing with for the current final playoff spot. Very well possible we see somebody else locking themselves up into the Truck Series playoffs today. The top 3 are all full-time truck regulars and all without a win this season. Brandon Jones doesn't have a win either, but he is in the Xfinity Series points where he has had a win on that side. Daniel Hemrick would be the highest in the running order of those that have won a truck race this year. He's got 1 win. He's currently in 5th. Mosak winless in 6th. And then both with wins, Chandler Smith, Stuart Friesen 7th, 8th. Majeski no win. Gio Ruggiero up to 10th now, also no win. Raja Karuth, I believe, came down and took tires recently. He now moves into 10th place as he battles past Patrick Emmerling in the 07. Chandler Smith is reeling in Connor Mosak for 6th. Down the Long Pond straightaway, entering towards the tunnel turn now in turn 2. That's the closest battle, it looks like, up in those top 6 positions as well. Although Daniel Hemrick is closing in on Brandon Jones for 4th. They're within a few tenths of each other. Riggs is still putting distance between himself and Tanner Gray at the front of the pack. 4/10 of a second quicker than Gray the last time by for Riggs. Seven lead changes, 4 cautions, 24 laps under yellow, 15 of those in stage 3. Just over an hour and a half into the race, and remember that this race is also 10 laps longer than last season. So Lane Riggs would have been the winner right now had we finished the race under last year's race length, but still going to have to wait it out just a little bit longer. 2 career wins for Riggs in the Truck Series. Both were in the playoffs a year ago, where he had actually missed the playoffs entirely. Was able to win at both Milwaukee and Bristol in the playoff events there. And this season, he's had some strong runs on the intermediate tracks. He's been close to victory lane several times. And here he is today when he hasn't had the fastest truck, but he had the 2nd or 3rd fastest truck. Things happen to the fastest truck. Corey Heim, who seems to be the fastest truck everywhere we go, especially this season. And Riggs is there to capitalize off of it. And that's what happens when you put yourself in a position to win race with fast equipment, race in and race out. And today, Riggs not the cause of the incident. Coming up on 5 laps to go this time as he exits turn 3. He's trying to get back around to the white flag. He's still 10 miles away from the white flag yet, so a lot of distance to cover. Still far from over. Corey Heim is back in 25th after having to pit before the field went green. He's the last truck on the lead lap because of that flat tire. Well, that's going to take him out of a good finish. The good news is for Corey Heim is that he had a 133-point lead over Chandler Smith coming into the day for the regular season championship. So he's not going to be 2 full races ahead of Chandler Smith anymore, but he's going to be pretty high up in the point category. He should still be over 100 points with the stage points he scored today. Although he did sacrifice stage points in stage 1, so not entirely sure on that. Probably right around 100 points, 90 to 100. Race and a half ahead of second still, with Smith in the top 10 and scoring stage points. Heim did win stage 2. And again, the stage 1 winner was Lane Riggs. And that was his first playoff point of the season. So if he wins, he would actually get 6 for this race. I'm just past Tyler Anker, but I believe Anker's already off the lead lap. Yeah, Anker's 2 laps down, so not that far out ahead of the leader. There's no damage on the 11 from the flat tire, but ran over a piece of debris during the caution. That has to be the only way that he had a flat. He never made contact with anybody in the couple of restarts prior to the tire going flat. There's no damage on his race car. Just an unlucky situation there for Corey Heim. And I feel like that team has found so many ways to lose races this season that isn't really anything of the driver or the execution on strategy as much as it is the equipment itself failing him. This week, it wasn't really the team, like he has had some engine problems a couple of times this year. I thought it was an engine. He was on the outside of the racetrack in the speedy dry when the tire was flat, and I saw smoke, or what looked to be smoke, but it was just a speedy dry. So led me to believe that he had an engine failure there, so I unmuted the TV and they diagnosed it as a flat tire over the radio communications. $18 races in the regular season for trucks, so they have 4 after today left. 2 road courses, 2 short tracks. Richmond, Indianapolis Raceway Park are the short tracks. Richmond, the regular season finale, and the 2 road courses are Lime Rock Park, first time ever the Truck Series will be there, and Watkins Glen. The trucks will be making their return to the Glen. 2 laps to go for Lane Riggs. As he enters turn 1, he's roughly 2 miles away from the white flag. He's got over a 4-second lead to Tanner Gray. Lap traffic ahead of him, but doesn't have to push the issue on them either. Riggs is definitely a championship 4 competitor. His teammate Chandler Smith with 2 wins already this year, so this will be the 3rd win for Front Row Motorsports across their 2-truck program. Not bad when you consider the fact that Corey Heim has been dominating the season. Much like today, but Lane Riggs is going to be the one to get the last lap here. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go for Lane Riggs at the Pocono Raceway. Tell he's taking it easy that last lap because Tanner Gray was about a half a second quicker than him. And he's probably going to be even quicker on the final lap. But he doesn't even want to catch any of these lap trucks. No need to push the issue. He's got a massive lead. And he's coasting his way through turn 1. Sure, he was saving a bunch of fuel earlier. Could also back it down here with that gigantic lead just in case he maybe wasn't saving enough during the cautions. It's going to be the 7th truck regular to get a win, a 10th different driver to win a truck race in 2025 when you count the Cup regulars who have won in the series. Checkered flag waves. Lane Riggs will win at Pocono and the MillerTech Battery 200. Hopefully he doesn't throw his shoulder out in victory like he did the last couple of times he was in victory lane last year. He did have shoulder surgery in the offseason, so he shouldn't be throwing his shoulder out this time. And if he does, I think he's just got to get a new arm. 3.6 second margin of victory for Riggs. 4 cautions, 7 lead changes, 24 laps. Ran under yellow today. We finish under the regulation length of 200 miles and 80 laps. 1 hour, 43 minutes, 17 seconds total time on the race. 3 cautions were for incident. 1 in stage 1 and 2 of them in stage 3. Stage yellow at lap 40, the only caution for stage 2. Riggs with the win. Tanner Gray finishes in 2nd. Caden Honeycutt 3rd. 2nd best, or ties his best of the season. Brandon Jones in 4th. Daniel Hemrick rounds out the top 5. Then Connor Mosak in 6th. Chandler Smith 7th. Stuart Fries in 8th. Ty Majeski 9th. And Raja Karuth will finish out the top 10. Gio Ruggiero in 11th. Luke Baldwin 12th. Carson Hocevar 13th. Jack Wood 14th. And Patrick Emmerling 15th. The fact that Carson Hocevar had a pass-through penalty on that last restart and still finished 13th. How does that happen? Was he speeding on pit? No. Honestly, I don't know how he got back up there. But 13th for Carson. Jack Wood 14th and Patrick Emmerling 15th. Andres Perez in 16th. Grant Enfinger 17th. Ben Rhodes in 18th. They were both caught up in an incident. Frankie Muniz 19th and Matt Mills 20th. Nathan Bird, 21st. Tony Breidinger, 22nd. Corey Heim passed a couple of trucks late to get to 23rd after having the flat tire while leading under that last caution with about 20 laps to go. Tyler Tomasi, 24th. Spencer Boyd, 25th. Tyler Ankrum, 26th. So 25 trucks finish on the lead lap. Ankrum was 2 laps down in that spot. Then Matt Crafton, 2 laps down at 27th as well. 4 laps down for Jake Garcia, 28th. I don't even know how he finished after he nosed the wall hard, bringing out the last caution from the exit of turn 1. And quite a few drivers DNF'd in today's race, 7 of them total. Dawson Sutton at 29th, Clayton Green 30th, Connor Jones 31st, 32nd for Dawson Cram, 33rd Cody Dennison, Norm Benning 34th and 35th for Brian Dozit. Here's your race winner, Lane Riggs, on the front stretch at Pocono Raceway.
Trying to help him get all disconnected. Oh, I bet he can't wait to see his dad. Grew up going to the racetrack, watching his dad in victory. There's that checkered flag waiting for him. Shoulders good.
Yeah, shoulder's good. There we go.
Hugs all around. And our top Bodine is there to hear from our happy winner.
Hey, buddy. Well, a little different than Pocono than last year. You were first one to the green flag. You're first one to the checkered flag. And guess what? You set the fastest lap of the race in that last run. Well, that's just a testament to this team. That thing was bad fast, especially that last run right there. I really hate the 11 fell out. Not sure what the 7 was doing on the restart there, but made sure to take advantage of it. Not really sure why we slowed down 30 mile an hour coming to the restart zone, but hey, I'm a happy man right now. It's great to have bare knuckle boxing on the truck, to have a fight tonight in Nashville. Make sure to tune in on Vice TV, see all the action after this race. But man, I am on cloud nine. This is not one I had circled. Like I said, last year we wrecked in practice, didn't qualify, and rode around dead last all day. And today we were the best. So it's man, that's amazing. Lane Riggs, first win of the year here at the Tricky Triangle.
It's his first career pole, and then he wins it.
There you go. And now he's locked into the playoffs for the Truck Series. Grant Enfinger plus 50, plus 45 for Caden Honeycutt, and Ty Majeski plus 10 are the last 3 drivers above the cut line. 7 drivers of 10 possible spots are now locked in. Jake Garcia with that crash earlier. Good thing that he did finish the race, salvaged at least a decent amount of points rather than if he had DNF'd, especially with issues late for Corey Heim and a few other drivers on that final restart that he was able to get by. So he's 10 points below the cutoff line. Gio Ruggiero is minus 58. Ben Rhodes, 2-time champion, minus 60. And Tanner Gray, who finished second today, minus 83, are on the outside of the cutoff line looking in. So that is going to wrap things up for the Craftsman Truck Series race today at Pocono. Thanks for tuning in for our live commentary stream. Our like goal was 50. We're at 47 right now, so only 3 likes shy. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. I'll see you back again tomorrow afternoon. We've got a doubleheader of NASCAR live commentary coverage for you at Pocono. And we will kick things off tomorrow with practice and qualifying for the Cup Series at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll also be live for the Xfinity race tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Cup race still on schedule for Sunday, 1:30 start time, Eastern time, of course, right here on the channel with our pre-race. So 1 down, and we've got 4 to go here this weekend for live commentary. Should be a lot of fun at the Tricky Triangle. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good rest of your Friday night, and I'll see you tomorrow afternoon.